It's not external circumstances, not fate, not other people. It is your mind where everything truly begins. Every choice you make, every emotion you feel, every result you are living with, all are direct consequences of the way you think. Thinking is not just a vague stream of thoughts floating in your head. It is a silent yet powerful blueprint that draws out every detail of the life you walk through each day. The truth is, you do not react to reality. You react to how your mind interprets that reality. And right there, you already hold more power than you realize. People often try to change their lives by seeking tools outside themselves. A new job, a new relationship, a new environment. But if the old mind is still running in the background, you will carry the same old habits, beliefs, and fears into the very place you thought was a fresh start. Real change does not happen when you move houses, switch companies, or replace a partner. It only happens when you change the person who talks in your head every day. That is the starting point of every action, every decision, and every belief you've lived with as if it were absolute. Thinking is the first force that shapes reality. What you think doesn't stop at awareness, it transforms into emotion. Emotions direct your physiological responses, energy state, behavior, and outcomes. A negative thought doesn't just make you sad for a few minutes. It can disrupt your nervous system, release cortisol, reduce your ability to focus, damage relationships, affect your health, and even determine the direction of a day, a year, or a lifetime. Every thought is a biological command. And that's no longer a theory, it's a fact, supported by neuroscience and modern psychology. The question is no longer, am I thinking positively, but rather, am I thinking in the right direction? Because you could think positively all day and still be stuck in a faulty pattern. Effective thinking isn't about painting life in rosy colors. It's about facing the way your mind operates, dissecting the layers of programming installed by family, society, memories, and pain. Most of what you think isn't your own. It's inherited, copied, or reactive echoes from the past. You think it's you, but in truth, it's a version that's been programmed. And because of that, true awakening doesn't come from a big life event. It arrives the moment you pause and ask, who is doing the thinking in my head? When you dare to ask that, the door to freedom begins to crack open. No more autopilot living, no more unconscious reactions. You begin to consciously redesign your thought content instead of being led by the echoes of things you've never questioned. And a conscious mind is not a perfect mind. It is a mind that knows it is thinking and chooses its thoughts with awareness. When you change the way you think, the world doesn't transform instantly, but everything around you starts responding differently. Opportunities you once overlooked become clearer. Relationships that felt stuck begin to open up. Limitations you believed were fixed start to dissolve. Not because the world suddenly favors you more, but because you've changed your perspective. And through that new lens, you start acting differently. And it is new actions that create new results. Not some magical law of attraction, but the resonance between consciousness, emotion, behavior, and reality. Your mind is not a storage unit of data. It is a machine that continuously generates reality. Each thought is a blueprint. Each emotion is a chemical directive. Each reaction is a habit imprinted in your nervous system. And if you don't steer this current, no matter how many skills you learn or how many plans you have, you'll end up back at the same point with the same outcomes. Because reality isn't determined from the outside. It is born from within you. Many people ask, what should I do to change my life? The answer doesn't lie in what you do, but in what you are thinking. Because every action is the result of a thought behind it. If you act from lack, you multiply lack. If you act from fear, you create a reality full of control and limitations. But if you act from trust, from clarity, from a mature perspective, you don't just change the outcome, you are changing the person you are becoming. And that is the true essence of transformation. Every day you have tens of thousands of thoughts. Most of them are repetitive. If you don't filter them, your mind will operate on autopilot. And that autopilot is often a product of the past. But you are not the past. You are not the old story. You are the one rewriting each line of that script through the way you think in the present. And you can start at any moment. It only takes one new thought, and if repeated long enough, it will become a new neural pathway, a new trajectory for the future. Your mind does not need to be fixed. It needs to be guided. Not because it's broken, but because it is blindly loyal to what was once programmed. But the moment you reclaim the command, everything outdated begins to be challenged. Old reaction patterns become more visible. You begin to distinguish between your true voice and the echoes of the past. And you start choosing differently. That's when you start being a victim of the mind and become its leader. No one can change your life until you change the way you think. No tool is more powerful than a mind that is governed with awareness, and no one can do that for you, except you. Everything begins there. Not tomorrow, not when things are more perfect, not when you feel ready, but right now, when you begin to change the way you talk to yourself. That is not motivation, that is awakening. Not every thought that appears in your mind is true, and the voice that echoes in your head each day is not your true self. It's time to separate the two. Because if you don't, you'll spend your whole life as a victim of the thing called I think. But thoughts are products. You are the one creating those products or being operated by them without even knowing it. The difference between living awake and living in a fog begins at this very boundary. You no longer confuse the stream of thoughts with your true essence. The mind is a machine that generates thoughts. It's a biological function. It runs nonstop, drawing from old memories, past experiences, things others have said, images you've seen, unresolved fears. Every thought that pops into your head is the result of a network of neural connections, etched repeatedly over many years, sometimes from childhood, from moments you were too young to understand, but sensitive enough to remember. And because they come from within you, you assume they are you. But that is one of the greatest illusions we carry through life. You are not the whisper that tells you I'm not good enough. You are not the repeated phrase, I'll never be truly loved. You are not the anxiety that arises when you start something new. You are the one hearing those sentences, and that makes all the difference. Thoughts are content. You are awareness, the one observing that content. When you realize this, you are no longer a puppet in the play of memories and unconscious programming. You begin to reclaim command. Many people live their entire lives pulled by invisible voices in their heads, never stopping to ask, did I actually choose this thought?